First Lady of AIM, Sister Karen Clark, shared God's songbird. To Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee for your kindness and your presence here on this night. And I want to acknowledge a very special guest. I'm sure many of you know the Reverend Kirby John Caldwell, a pastor here in the city of Houston. His lovely wife and the First Lady of his church, Sister Suzette Caldwell, is with us on tonight. And I'd like for her to stand and let's acknowledge this lovely lady, so kind and so generous and so warm and welcoming. Well, there are so many others that I could recognize, so many others that I could acknowledge. But I believe I've done a good job. I do want to congratulate Bishop Roger Jones, who has a fantastic, miraculous testimony of what God has done in his life. And he has told that story in the book, When Life Hurts, Dreams Fade, Hope Again. Would you look at your neighbor and say, hope again? You'll be so inspired and so lifted by the story of Bishop Roger L. Jones Sr. And books are available in the exhibit area following the service on tonight. If you know anybody who needs to be delivered, if you know of anybody who needs a miracle in their lives, if you know of anybody who has hit the bottom and needs to go to the top, get a copy of that wonderful book, and it'll be a blessing to you and to them. Maximize and place first priority on your relationship with God. Maximize and place first priority on your relationship with God. Repeat those words after me, please. Maximize and place first priority on your relationship with God. Word of the Lord reads in Jeremiah 31:3. The Lord has appeared of old to me, saying, yes, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn you. And Hosea 6:6 says, for I desire mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. Not all relationships can or should be dealt with at the same level of priority, at the same level of intensity, or at the same level of closeness. Listen to the Apostle Paul in Philemon verse 1 and verse 2. And note the various levels of closeness and relationship that are revealed there. First he says, Paul, a prisoner of Jesus Christ, and Timothy, our brother, to Philemon, our beloved friend and fellow laborer, to the beloved Apphia, and to Archippus, our fellow soldier, and to the church in your house. Timothy was called brother. Philemon was called beloved friend, fellow laborer. Apphia was called beloved. Archippus was called fellow soldier. And then he just generally greeted the rest of the people by saying to the church in your house. Not only Paul, but even Jesus shared different levels of relationship and closeness with the people who were around him. With the scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees, and priests who opposed him, Jesus shared rebuke and correction. With the multitudes who sought after him, he shared miracles and wisdom and provision. With the followers, the 70 followers, he shared empowerment and authority over demons. With the 12 disciples, he shared all of that, plus strategy and insight and broader understanding and a greater percentage of his time. With the three, Peter, James, and John, he shared his struggles, he shared his low moments, he shared his high moments. And with one disciple, John leaned on his breast and shared his heart and was called the disciple whom Jesus loved. There are various levels of relationship that characterize all of our lives. There are individuals with whom you'll never meet and with whom you'll never speak. Level 1. You should have a spirit of kindness toward them. You should be aware of the fact that they are blessed and chosen and created by God. You may nod or share a brief hello and never meet them again. At this level, level 1, you should be willing to support efforts to enhance the plight of those who need help and assistance, whether you know them or not. And you should advocate and enhance justice and freedom in the world. But next, there are the people with whom you happen to interact only every once in a while, or very infrequently. Level 2. A person who sits beside you on a plane, or who sits beside you on a bus. A person with whom you share a doctor's waiting room. But even there, the conversation should not always be about you. Would you just look over at your neighbor and say, the conversation ought not always be about you. You should seek to create a positive and appropriate atmosphere. You should seek to have an appropriate discussion that is pleasant and preferable, not just to you, but also to the other person. And then there are also the people with whom you must interact because they are in a prolonged way in the same space that you are in. Level 3. Co-workers, next door neighbors, members of the same organizations. But you seldom, if ever, at this level, ever go out of your way to interact with them in any significant way. It's kind of a hello, how you doing type of good to see you relationship. I suppose at the next level are the people whom you consider to be a part of your social circle of casual friends. Level 4. You see one another occasionally. You greet one another warmly and invite one another to events. But if you call them up, there needs to be a reason why you call. What can I do for you? That's level 4. At the next level of relationship, there does not need to be a reason to call. But don't call every day, please. You call every once in a while to stay in touch, to keep the relationship intact. I thought about you. I wanted to check on you and see how you're doing. Level 5. At the next level, there's a mutual understanding that you not only call occasionally, but you're supposed to want to stay in touch frequently. Level 6. That you extend to one another the right and the privilege to be a part of one another's life. You extend to one another the right to ask, hey, why haven't I heard from you? Why haven't I been able to catch up with you lately? Level 6. At the next level is that level where neither of you thinks